I was in Washington State, spending several days backpacking through the national parks. I was already about 20 miles out from the nearest road, and for the first 2 days, I hadn't run into a single person. It was the beginning of fall, so the weather was a bit colder than most people would be comfortable with, but I had all the necessary equipment. One morning, I got up, made a quick coffee over my pocket stove, and headed out to the next campsite. It was 6 miles away, which in the mountains is a pretty far hike. 4 hours into this walk, I suddenly heard footsteps ahead of me. I looked up and saw a man walking along the trail, going the opposite way. I wasn't really expecting to see anyone, but I smiled and nodded as he passed by. I noticed something really strange. He had no backpack, no water bottle, literally nothing. I even turned around to get another look at him because I was so confused. When I did, he happened to also glance back at me. So to keep things from being weird, I just turned back around and continued walking. After getting some distance, I kind of forgot about it. I think I came up with the idea that he had a campsite nearby and was just going for a walk. But I also knew that no established camps were anywhere near there. Whatever the case, I didn't find it worth thinking too much about. The next several hours were difficult, but eventually I made it to my campsite. It was empty, with just one small spot for my tent to go on. It wasn't as great as I was hoping, though the view was supposed to be a lot better, but from the actual campsite, there wasn't really any view at all. It was kind of covered up by all the trees. The whole campsite really just felt like it was in the middle of a forest rather than on a mountaintop. I was rightfully exhausted though, and went straight away to setting up my tent and then relaxing while watching the sunset. As I sat there, I randomly heard a shuffling sound behind me. I turned and was completely stunned to see that same man I'd run into earlier. He still had no backpack or anything, but even more confusing was why he was at this campsite. He was walking in the complete opposite direction when I last saw him, and for him to get here now, he must have turned around pretty soon after running into me. As he walked up to the campsite, he didn't look at me like he was purposefully pretending that I wasn't there or that he couldn't see me. He went up to the other side of this small area we were in and sat down, no tent, no sleeping bag, no anything, just sitting on the dirt and looking out into the forest. He was only 15 or so feet from me, but with him looking away, I was able to get a much better look at him. The man looked like he was in his late 30s and had a short, scruffy beard with short brown hair. I couldn't help but feel really uneasy. Nothing about this was natural, and as the sun continued to set, it only made me feel even more unsafe. Who was this guy? And what the hell was he doing 25 miles out in the forest with no shelter, food, or water? About 30 minutes passed, and he still didn't move. I decided, though, that I couldn't stay there. I had nowhere else to really go, but I figured I just had to find some random spot and make sure he didn't follow me. I began taking down my tent and packing up, and it was only then that the man looked over at me. Once he did, he never looked away, and every time I looked at him, he was staring right at me. Once I got everything stashed in my backpack, I saw in the corner of my eye that the man stood up. I began walking as fast as I could, hearing his footsteps following close behind me. I clutched my small knife tightly in my hands, unsure what was going to happen. After a minute, I looked back a few times, seeing him still following but getting further away. Then, took a risk. I veered off the trail and into the woods. It was pitch black by now, so I hoped he didn't see me and would just keep walking. Once I was maybe 20 feet into the woods, I leaned out behind a tree and waited. 30 seconds later, his footsteps came down the trail, but just as he was about to pass by, he stopped. I watched his figure in the dark, looking around, as if he knew I wasn't on the trail anymore. Then he started yelling. He was trying to sound friendly too, which made it even more disturbing. After 2 minutes though, he stopped yelling. But instead of going back to the campsite, he walked straight into the woods on the other side of the trail. His figure disappeared in the woods and fell silent. I must have waited there for over an hour before finally getting up and making my way back. I forced my body to push through and skip the next campsite just to be safe. When I was back in town, I put in a report with the local police office. They never followed up with me though. I don't know if that man was living out there, trying to rob or kidnap people, or maybe even both, but I'm lucky to have gotten away when I did.